Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Quick disclaimer, this is a reread for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as we prepare for the book Onyx Storm. Spoilers ahead. Speaking of men with mommy issues who abandon them at a young age and they have to join a team of fighters to learn how to survive, Witcher 4 is coming out and I am so excited.
Why do you think his mom abandoned him?
What do you mean? Who? Xaden or Geralt?
Maybe a bit of both.
I don't know why on either of them. Oh, well, Geralt's mom abandoned him because she was incredibly poor and she sold him.
You think maybe Xaden's mom was incredibly poor and she sold her body?
Oh my god, no, that's so sad.
Maybe they weren't abandoned.
No, they were definitely both abandoned and they both have issues with falling in love because of it.
No, see, here's the thing. Geralt's taste in women?
Chef's
kiss. Yeah, I liked that we were both there. Yennefer? Itchy. The one who taught Yennefer, that lady. At least in the show, there's something about that lady. The old woman. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, the queen witch of training in there. Yeah. I also have realized that I compare all female main characters to Ciri because of Witcher 3, the video game.
That's true. And I find that weird in certain situations, like Despicable Me.
What? No.
You know, where I'm like, listen, I know Scarlet isn't Ciri. Like the way I made her a main character. You thought I was going to go for one of the kids, didn't you?
I didn't know where you were going with bringing up that.
Nobody ever does. It's like Inside Out. Joy and Ciri.
No.
Same.
Well, I was going to talk about how I find Ciri's character to be so badass. She is by far my favorite female character in this, I don't know how to describe it.
In this vein.
Yeah, and then when I saw the trailer for Witcher 4 and Ciri in this fight, and it makes me think of Violet, rather than a TV show, it would be incredible instead if Fourth Wing and Iron Flame were actually a video game like this and that you could actually experience the story. Because the reason that I love Witcher 3 so much is because it is essentially a book and a storyline and open world, and you can experience the world.
Similar to this, it started as a book.
Yeah, and Witcher?
Yeah, I think so. It may have started as a video game and then books were written. No, yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't either. If anybody from CD Projekt Red wants to weigh in.
But I think it would be so cool instead to have this series done as a video game, but not like a cheesy one, like this level.
Not like PlayStation 2 Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Where you're just walking around Hogwarts.
Yeah, where the name is what sells you on the video game. Like it's actually intended to tell you the story in an immersive way. And that you can play as Violet and use her skills. Can you
imagine how frustrating the first several hours of that game would be? You're like, I'm attacking this guy. Why do I keep dying? Well, because you have a 1 in 200 chance of hitting your target.
No.
I think that would be really funny. And then the real cheat code is you just get to be Xaden.
That's kind of what Ciri is in this video game, where you just have moments where you get to be Ciri. And this new game, I wonder if it's all about Ciri and you just get moments where you get to be Geralt.
We don't know how the last game ended because we had to restart that game when we were like 70 hours in or more. We were like 170 hours in and restarted it. So we had to get a new Xbox.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours on this game.
Several hundreds, yes.
And we never even made it 50% because...
Well, to be fair, it's because you and I don't play video games the same way.
You're a completionist, and in this open world thing, that is insane.
It's really hard, but I like doing everything 100%, and you like becoming rich. That is easily my favorite thing. I go through and hoard things because I'm like, what if I can't find some of this later? And then I go back in there, and you've sold all of my shit, but we're very wealthy.
I also don't like training up and getting better at any of the skills. I just want to explore, ride horses, buy and sell things. Oh, and get a huge collection of clothes. It's the same thing in Mario Odyssey, where I just want all of the outfits and get and collect everything. And you're like, no, we have actual missions to do. I'm like, but do we? We can just enjoy the world.
Yeah, we play things very differently. I'm like, oh, that cool. What if I could defeat this guy without using this power? And you're like, okay, but what if we had a new tunic? It was made of gold and diamonds and angel feathers.
Or I would take him into the bars to go see the
ladies.
The ladies.
Yes. Yeah, you were far more about the prostitutes and I was more about the strumpets. That was your thing. I remember you just being excited, waving all the strumpets on your way by, and I'm like, I don't know that you would do well in a game like this.
For the Fourth Wing or the Empyrean video game, not enough strumpets.
Not enough strumpets. We need more Liam and more strumpets.
Chapter 21. There's an excerpt about how Navarre was formed and how it stripped all of the locations of their cultures. I'm assuming all of the provinces that are within it, that it stripped them of everything that they had to become this one melting pot. It's probably the best word for it. Maybe not even melting pot. It's almost like one is the dominant culture.
Cohesive is the word I would use. Because a melting pot would imply that you're taking bits and pieces from all of these cultures and combining them to make one thing, as opposed to demanding that they become a part of what you already are.
And that is kind of what they've done, of we have one language. And they didn't even put any effort of keeping any of their records. And Devera fills in for the history class, and she discusses these cultural losses. And she does a great job of, I want you guys to think about this. Put yourself in their shoes. What would you have lost?
Devera goes so far as to ask them what would be lost, what had been lost during unification.
Yep.
And really waits for them to come to the group decision of culture is what they lost.
Yep.
And there's some dude in there who we really don't know anything about who keeps piping up. Like he should have been silent.
Oh, why? I don't remember. What did he say?
The guy that's like, we didn't lose culture, blah, blah, blah. Everything was translated. And they're like, yeah. Violet brings up a great point. She's like, only a handful of scribes even spoke Tirish or understood the Tirish language. So therefore, in order to actually transcribe everything and translate it into common, it would have taken a long time.
Well, I think Violet is an even bigger rarity than I thought when it comes to understanding the inner workings of the scribe quadrant, because they did all assume, well, it's all been translated. She's like, that would take centuries. No, that hasn't happened. And they just assumed, like, yeah, you can just go in there and ask for a translated version. It's not like you're without. And she's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, Violet is aware. Ree's aware. I think all of the people who are from border towns, basically, probably lost more.
Yeah, because I think they lost folklore, languages, books, history, the ability to travel. I think were a lot of the highlights.
That was a big one, too. When you think about it, the ability to travel really influences things.
And Navarre is huge compared to the other locations.
Well,
but do they have trading between them? If they've closed off their borders from people going from
they discussed this. Poor meal cut off trading to Navarre.
Oh. Somebody points out that Ridoc knows oral folklore that even Violet doesn't know, and he jokes that is impossible.
Violet knows everything.
We don't hear much about Ridoc or any of his jokes or anything. I've realized that a majority of these chapters have been a heavy, heavy focus on Violet and Xaden and their relationship.
This is not as lighthearted of a section of the story as the first book was.
No, any of these chapters, we're 21 chapters in, and Ridoc and Sawyer aren't this comedic relief like they were in the last book.
No, we get a hint of it later, but we don't get a lot of it.
Yeah, I wish we could know more about their lives, that we can have some fun with. Oh,
3 more books. 3 more books.
Beginning to see, do they have relationships? What are their letters to their families like? Oh, wait, I think we do hear about one of those Sawyer later with...
Yep.
Oh, we do get something at least.
We get a little bit on Sawyer.
Yep. Navarre only gave families 1 year to move for protection and becoming a part of the unification.
Yeah.
That is so incredibly short. I don't know if I would have done a move like that.
I don't know if you would be capable. Violet brings that up. There were many families that couldn't afford to do it, or for whatever reason, were restricted from being able to do it. So But again, I don't think the idea... it gets complicated because the humanitarian side of you wants to believe that Navarre could have left their borders open, right? For people to go in and out of. But if they're already having trouble with maintaining security the way they're running things now, there's probably an argument to be made for them being more strict about their borders. 1 year does seem like a very short timeline.
Yeah, I bet we're going to hear more about it, or at least we should, of why they are so locked down and secretive about it. It's almost like they go hand in hand, and I am too slow to put it together. Why everything must be a secret to your own people and keeping the borders shut. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think it's going to come down to it's just an aspect of control.
Well, this was a very sad chapter, and seeing what families have sacrificed, and even their own families, that I don't even think all the students recognize that their family history has lost, and kind of having that whole discussion. I like how Tavera handles it. There's an awkward moment with Dain outside of this where they go to the sparring thing, and then Dain versus Violet. And this is not a sexy one. This is just a sad way of him trying to talk to her.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't have a lot to add into this one. Other than, again, if Dain was really feeling like being an asshole, he'd just put her down.
Do you think he has increased his skill to the point that him touching her or anybody at all, any skin contact would work?
I don't know. I don't think we're given enough information on that, because it doesn't appear as though they've been necessarily concentrating on the methodology of him getting the information, more so on the information he would have access to seems to be more of his training.
Because how far does it go with him training? Can it go like a small touch? Because we saw where he had to like have a lot of his hand on her face or like something about her temples, and then he like barely touches her chin. Can he do it through clothing? Can he do it on other parts? Does he have to be close to the mind? Or can he just eventually one day just be standing near somebody and pull their memories?
So I see the training he's going through as different. I see it as the difference between a bodybuilder and an endurance trainer, right? What they're hoping to get out of him is that he could have a deeper access to your memories, as opposed to the way that he would then access those memories.
That is way more logical than us focusing on, oh, well, can you do it by touching here, 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 or here? They're like, oh, we actually want to focus on the quality of information that you gain.
I would, yeah.
But I don't think he steals any memories from her. I don't even think he ever touches her. She keeps a good distance from him.
Yeah, and I don't think his goal is to make her hate him more. He knows that she's aware of how his signet works.
Do you think that Dain could do some self-reflecting and come up with the answers to the questions that he has for her?
Yes, but again, I think it depends on how we're going to take this. Are we giving him as much latitude as we're giving Violet?
Never, no.
Okay, well, if we have super high expectations of Dain, then yeah, Dain shouldn't have any questions. Dain should know exactly where his problems are with Violet in that trust, but they're all under a lot of pressure. He's not self-reflecting. He's just mourning the loss of his closest friendship.
Well, now you made us sad and made me kind of feel bad for him.
I don't think you need to feel bad for him. He put himself in that position. It's not that it's unmerited or undeserved, I guess.
I feel like he could put two and two together, because there was, I think, even at one point, he's like, is this what Xaden meant about Athbane? Like, yeah, Dain. I think you could have put two and two together when your dad sent that whole crew to Athbane after you told your dad that. And it seems like he's like, oh, is that what it's about? Like, come on. And then people died and then she's upset with you. I thought he could put two and two together.
I agree with you. I think there's a distinct possibility that the way that we're being given information is all from Violet's perspective in this. And the reality is there could have been other people that died during war games, right?
Oh.
Then he's being told that this was Griffin Flyers. He doesn't know about the venom. Dain wouldn't at this point because Violet didn't know about the venom.
But they were
touched her.
But they were the only ones that went outside of the border, and he knew that because of its location where the war games were going to be. All the other students all were within borders. If some of them died, it would have been due to accidents, not due to...
He would not have known that they pulled the forces from that place, though. Remember, those people pulled out really quickly.
True.
None of that was known to him initially. So he could plausibly look at this and say, it's not that different than everybody else's war games, other than you're in a farther outpost. not as heavily guarded by the wards. Bad things happened, but bad things happened everywhere to everybody.
Yeah, I guess we can give him a little leeway if...
We don't have to. I'm just throwing it out there. We could make that argument.
Dain needs a whole nother book before he's on my good side. Even when he turns things around through this, I still need more time because I still see him as an asshole.
Sure.
I still haven't forgiven him for what he did. And I don't think Violet did either, even at the end of this book. So I'm with her on that.
It doesn't make him not an asshole for the way that he went about getting him. I would agree with you.
So they have their non-sexy fight. Dain doesn't acknowledge that he stole her memory because she points out, like, you took this from me. And he never really picked up on that. And he kind of throws it in her face that there's things about Xaden that you don't know.
Which happens to be accurate, but also...
He was just so focused on Xaden. He isn't really listening to her.
You're 100% correct. At the same time, take what he knows about Xaden.
Well, if you're really besties, you would have told her.
If you're really besties, you would give her all the information, is what you're saying?
You know what? I am not falling for a trap because if this is coming back around to Riorson, no.
I'm just pointing out every other besties situation we have in this, they're keeping big secrets from each other and trying to, in their best way, prevent the person from being affected. And I don't like Dain, but I don't think I can look at Dain and give him a higher standard than I'm giving Xaden or than I'm giving Violet.
And I think that if I was in Dain's shoes and I knew something that big, I probably wouldn't have told Violet either.
And that's my thing. I think he's really just trying to distance her from Xaden because he sees Xaden as a huge issue.
But I don't think his motives for telling her this was actually as noble as I care about you and I'm worried about you being around him. I think there is some of that, but also I'm a little jealous that you like Xaden.
I don't believe it's altruism at all. I would agree with you. I think it's fueled by jealousy.
I don't really know what happens between the Dain fight, but at some point, she and Rhiannon are talking. This is when Rhiannon is clever in picking up and reading the situations for what they are. Rhiannon realizes there is a hit on those who went to Athmine for seeing something that they shouldn't have, and she asks what killed Day. Oh, I think it's because she heard what was going on between Violet and Dain.
Yeah, again, Violet keeps acting like these conversations are in a cone of silence. That's not how any of this works. Everybody's not deaf because you're not talking directly to them. Sometimes they are, but generally speaking, whatever you're saying on the mat, everybody else is aware of.
Violet had multiple times throughout this where she says things under her breath.
And again, I love Violet, but how are you so smart and such a dummy? Like, what is happening? Our queen of strategy is also really bad at it sometimes.
She's not good at keeping secrets.
What a remarkable issue to have. The only thing you're doing is trying to keep secrets.
That's the whole point that I've been trying to say. She's not good at it and she's struggling. So she just kind of shuts down. And then sometimes she whispers under her breath very important things that shouldn't be said.
She says things under her breath and then sometimes she just attracts so much attention to herself. And you're like, come on, lady. Just stop. I don't know. I get frustrated with these moments. Because it just seems inconsistent.
I don't see it as inconsistent because I'm an inconsistent person in my skills. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense that Violet would be doing this. Sounds like something I would do.
We might make those mistakes, but we're not the chosen ones. And we don't otherwise...
Excuse me? I'm not the chosen one?
You are the chosen one in every aspect. However...
I wouldn't be the lead female main character?
I think you would. I just think that you would be more consistent if you were the lead character in this.
Hard disagree. I would be dead. Completely dead. I don't have the desire to put in effort to do better at any form of physical exercise.
Well, the risk for you is not death. So
I would accept death.
I would say you're not properly motivated.
We have talked about post-apocalyptic scenarios and I would just off. I'm just like, nope.
Adriana, I have seen how much effort you put into things based off of just perception. You believe yourself to be far lazier than you are. It takes very little motivation for you to all of a sudden do something.
So you think that I would survive past Parapet?
Yeah. I think you would have survived past Parapet, and then I think that you would have uncovered the secrets of Navarre,
Oh, no, hard
And
disagree.
I think your method for not being killed would have been to have spread all of the information so that they would have had to have murdered everybody.
I don't even think that I would have had the guts to be Justinia and not writing down who was asking for what if it risks my life. Even what Justinia does gives me anxiety. I'm just like, Justinia, you're going to die. No, stop, please. Just write the name down.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
You are very sweet.
God, I'm accurate.
We would have to be a duo in this life together.
No. I would have died immediately because the minute they gave me lightning powers and Varrish was being a dickhead, I would have waited until he was close enough and I'd have got him at point blank range.
Oh my God.
I'd have been like, oops, misfire. That would have been it. Sorry.
There would have been a lot of accidental deaths around you.
Oops, I got a little horny and I cooked him. That would have been it.
Oh. At the end of chapter 21, Auric has an injured arm from sparring, and Violet is the one that is taking him to the healers. And then they have their one-on-one conversation. And he talks to her like, you've already figured this out, obviously, so let's just start the conversation with where you are aware of. And she's just like, what? I had no clue. No shame to Violet, because obviously I would have had no clue.
It's the correct way to do this.
Yeah. She's putting things together. And unless Violet tells me explicitly, I'm not aware. I need things laid out. And then I have the audacity to judge her for being like, Violet, you didn't know this, please. Yet I'm the one who couldn't figure it out without her telling me explicitly.
I'm really more amazed that Auric isn't a bigger part of this, actually. His deductive skills are great.
I think he might be in the future books, and he's incredibly handsome because he can flex his jaw.
And he's as tall as Xaden, but he's blonde.
Ooh, good catch. I think he's going to stick around for those 3 characteristics alone.
Yes, and he has piercing green eyes.
Oh, wow, you really paid attention.
These are the descriptions. This is all we know about Auric. Auric Greycastle. He's not good at coming up with fake names because he just used his middle name as his first name.
Well, Violet addressed Auric as if it was, when she first heard his name, like that was a silly name, like a
Yeah, it is.
John Doe.
Use your middle name as your alias and then Greycastle. Come on.
He's like running away from home. He's like, I need a last name. And he turns and he looks at the Grey Castle. He's like, all right, I think I got one.
What's my name? I can't use my first one. Auric. Okay, Auric, that's good. What's around Castle? Greycastle, yes. They'll never put this together.
Well, they don't put it together.
I know. Bunch of dummies.
No. Because even the guards are still looking for him. His dad doesn't even know that he's gone.
You would think it would be relatively rare. Because Violet says how his eyes alone gave him away. He's like, you could pick him out in a crowd because his eyes are so green. And it's a family trait.
I was just going to say, I took that as a distinct family trait.
And then how many, 6'4" blonde guys are running around this place?
But they never talk about photography or anything digital of any kind. So unless you knew that family really well, I don't think that you would recognize him.
It said, be on the lookout for a guy with green eyes and blonde hair, and he's about 6.5 feet tall.
No, because the guards didn't want to cause alarm by looking for him as direct as you just described.
I'm saying if they were given a directive to look for somebody, what description do you think they're given to look for him? Look for a guy going around by the name Prince something? They've still found people in the old days. Not always, but they would occasionally find people.
I guess I was picturing just like a small handful of guards are going door-to-door salesman style looking for him.
But they would be given the description like what I gave you, probably.
Yeah, they were the ones watching him. They know what he looks like.
Maybe I don't understand what we're discussing. You're saying that they can't identify him because they don't have a photo.
I am saying that like Professor De Vera, Markham, all of them have never met that family and there are no photos. There's no like missing persons sent out about him.
So who is currently looking for him?
The guards that were watching him, like a small handful, and they haven't done like a missing persons thing. They're just personally looking for him before they tell his dad.
They haven't thought to check out the Rider Squadron.
Nope, they haven't got that far yet.
So, if you're a prince and you're like, I'm running away from home, your first guess wouldn't be the one place that if he ends up there, you really can't retrieve him from after the first year.
Didn't he lose his brother as a rider?
Yes. Which, again, I don't understand. Maybe that's when the rule came in that royalty can't join the Rider Squadron. It's very confusing to me.
I don't know when the rule came about, but as a guard, you're probably like, he wouldn't do that. He lost a brother that way.
I don't know. All right, we'll run with that. I refuse to believe that the guards are this inept.
There's just 2, maybe.
It reminds me a little bit of when you watch kid shows, and the adults are always kind of portrayed to be super stupid.
Yeah, those are those guards.
Yeah, that's most of the adult characters in this are like, they don't get it because they're grown-ups. And grown-ups get dumber when they get to 25.
I think a lot of these grown-ups just drink the Kool-Aid and they follow the rules. Even Nolon is like this, where he's giving her this escape. Like, you guys need to get out of here. It's like, why don't you just let them out? He's like, well, I got rules to follow. You guys better bail.
He couldn't have just let them out, to be fair. Varrish was outside that door. He had to lead Varrish away.
That's a good point.
I think he did what he could do, but I still think it's funny that they got the patches that they would have never got if it wasn't for him.
If it wasn't for him and her having the dagger.
Yeah, no, it was both things.
There was a lot of luck involved. Maybe luck is a little too harsh because it did give us a lot of good information on what these daggers can do.
Still luck, to be fair.
Chapter 22, Violet has her nightmare. Is this a bad dream, the future, or a possible future where it can shape and change? Or was this the scene that we see at the end of the book?
No, I think this was literally, she's asleep. She's not actively able to keep her shields up. And the venom is projecting himself into her dream.
Oh, so it's more of a connection that you think it is.
I think so, yeah. It's Freddy Krueger kind of, you know?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was almost like a future scenario that she was dreaming of. There was something about the beginning of the dream reminded me, she said something about what is Indarna doing here? And that happens at the end of the book.
Maybe you're right. And then her second signet would be Foresight.
Oh, but doesn't Xaden also have these dreams?
I think so, but then I think if you're having premonitions, that would have to be a signet. That's why I think it's them I think it's the venom projecting themselves.
Then if it's that would mean that the venom have some type of future sight. Because the beginning of the dream, I think, is like the end of the book.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I do agree with you, but I don't know that the venom necessarily would see the future as much as the venom are working toward a goal that they're basically achieving. And that's just my take on it.
We're going to have to wait. This was just the first dream of many. And I thought Xaden had some, she has some. And I never went back and re-listened to any of these. This is my first time re-listening. And it just sounded familiar of what's coming up. But I don't know if it was identical to the future or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But I think it's important that we address the man of Violet's dreams.
The sage.
Yeah, I just like that it would be the man of her dreams.
Oh,
that's all I was going for there. It was a really light little joke, but
I'm just really slow. I'm like, we need to do a deep dive on this.
A deep dive.
But he also says that he wants her power. And I asked you a little bit about this one because I put it in our book club as a poll. Does he want to take her power in the same way that venom take from the ground, like pull it from her and get that from her? Or does he want to take her lightning power in whatever way of controlling her? Or is it just something completely else? I don't know what to think of. I want your power, something we haven't seen in centuries.
So I think he wants her power in the same way that Navarre uses her power. It is her, control of her, and she's in command of the power, kind of a transitive property. And I say this because the power she has is not innately lightning, right?
Right.
It is lightning because that is what she perceived the power coming to her to be, and then she makes it lightning, basically.
Right.
Therefore, I don't think he can just draw lightning from her. I think he wants her power, as in, if I command the one who commands the skies, now we're really in where we want to be with things.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if it was some type of siphoning thing where he could take her power from Terran, but then you would have to keep her alive because she is that channel to Terran. And then that's actually not really taking it from Violet. That would be taking it from Terran.
And arguably, siphons don't take whatever that person's interpretation of power is from.
I don't even
takes
understand
raw
siphons.
power. Like, think of it where Nolon was a siphon and Brennan was a healer. Brennan dies-ish. He's on death's door. He isn't taking Brennan's healing power to heal Brennan. He's just injecting Brennan with power to allow him to survive.
And where was Nolon getting that from? What was he siphoning from?
Well, and this is the thing. He could draw off his own, to be fair.
Wait, what?
They redistribute power, so they still have their own power. It's just they can also redistribute from... So think of it like if you have 3 cups of water, right? The siphon is cup B. Cup B still has power, right? The power of cup B is to distribute whatever they have to somebody else, but they can also take from cup C or cup A and redistribute it.
Yeah, and we saw that with Sloane later with Lilith.
Correct.
That made a lot of sense to me. What doesn't make sense is Nolon all by himself with Brennan. What is he siphoning from? Maybe he's not even siphoning. Maybe he's just using his own power, I guess.
And this is my whole thing where I think he becomes Venom. I imagine he siphons from the source.
Where are dragons pulling from? Or are they their own sources?
I think the dragons pull it from a source, but it's a natural thing for them to do. So I don't think it combats nature in that sense.
Okay. I like that answer. And that also explains why their dragon eggs and their hatching grounds are super important.
Mm-hmm.
So she has her dream. She wakes up. Xaden starts taking her to the Bisguyeth Forge, and she says, "Thank you for trusting me with this." I didn't really think that he's doing it out of like trusting. It seemed almost like, or maybe it is. Maybe it is him opening up to sharing more information with her. Why is it beneficial to show her the forge?
Thank you. I have the same question. I don't understand it at all.
Why does he trust her more? What did she do that made him trust her?
Well, I don't think she did anything. I think he's coming to terms with it. It's back to the compromise thing, right?
He's coming to terms with it. I think
he's accepting more of, she can know this, she can know that. I can be more honest with her.
Yeah.
And I think that's really lovely. I would, however, question why the fuck anybody wants to see how the sausage is made in this whole thing, right? What does she gain from, she knows there's a forge. Yeah. Watching it work doesn't help you. If you like cheese, you don't need to go to a dairy to appreciate the cheese.
I don't think that was what, at least not what I got from it, was to just show her how the forge works. I took it as, we're going to show you how we have been smuggling, and you can help us smuggle.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense. Yeah, if you were stealing the cheese directly from the cheese factory. All right.
Yeah, I guess that's how I took it. But yet it was also daytime, and I don't think they were headed to go smuggle. It was more, let's go have a conversation about the smuggling ring that we have going on.
Well, and why do it at the forge?
I thought that's where they were smuggling from.
No, I think you're right. I'm saying, why have that conversation there? Why not have it in the room that's warded? Like, come on, man. You're all worried about risks, and now you're the 2 most observed people by the insane commandant.
I guess we'll never know because they never made it to the forge.
Oh, why didn't they make it to the forge?
Varrish, I think, shows up.
Huh, weird. Almost like the guy who is just really honed in on them.
Oh, actually, yeah, so he's going to take her. I think they're in her room this whole time, and she starts talking about the first 6 carved, the first ward stone, and this is the beginning of making plans for finding the book. And Varrish shows up to steal Violet, and he talks to Xaden about her room being warded, and that makes it difficult to take her. And that's why I thought they were still in her room when he showed up.
So they've left her room, and they're on their way to the forge. Because she says, "Where are we going?" And he says, "The forge." And she's like, "Oh, neat. Why?" And they start talking, and Varrish pops up. He's like, "Hello, burger people." I don't know. I imagine he's like Mr. Fish Odor.
Yeah.
The way he just kind of pops up sometimes, and he's not fun like Mr. Fish Odor, but just kind of nutty. And he's just like, "Well, I went to a room, but I couldn't go in there because somebody warded it."
I think that's a fun way to look at him, other than Varrish is a psycho.
We don't know. Bob's Burgers hasn't finished. He could have skeletons.
He could.
I don't know. I'm not painting him into a corner.
He's just in his little golf cart.
Yeah. He just pulls up. "Hello, dragon people."
Hello there.
"Ah, shadow wielder, I see."
Now you're going into like a Yoda.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so he pops up and he's like, you're not taking her now. She's not even healed. Blah, 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 blah. And Varrish was like, well, I get to decide what she does, actually. And Xaden's like, fuck you, I don't listen to you. And he's like, she does. He pulls the same shit with Xaden that he did with Terran. And then Violet's like, Sigale, fucking help. Xaden's gonna do something stupid. Because she also doesn't trust Xaden to not do dumb shit, which blows my mind. Because I'm like, this dude has been managing a rebellion for 3 years while being a student.
And I love Sigale for all of this. She's like, this is literally why I chose him. Why are you telling me this?
Shut up, you whiny dummy.
And she's like, well, if I have to remind you, you might not see Terran. And she's like, fine. Never speak to me again, essentially.
Yeah, honestly, Sigale's perfect. I love Sigale. And then Xaden is like, why would you tell Sigale on me? It was kind of like, why'd you tell Mom? I was fine. Like, there was that kind of moment. And Varrish in this whole thing is, he has to be aware that they're communicating mentally, right?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I thought everybody knew this, that they could talk to each other. Like, this is something that has been researched and documented about bonded pairs.
Again, clearly not as much as we had thought, but Varrish takes her.
Yeah, in his little go-kart. They're scooting
He jumps off
along.
in the go-kart and they're barely making it through the halls. He's like, beep, beep. Moving people out of the way. It's really great.
I'm picturing that he's kind of like all spray painted black because he's like trying to be all mysterious, trying to be like Xaden.
So, Xaden trounces off, right? He leaves.
Yeah, because he's kind of like, you got to do it, whether you like it or not. You got to go get interrogated.
Yeah. And Varrish personally coming to get you for your interrogation is an odd thing. What is his real job? He seems to be constantly just watching Violet and Xaden.
I think that is his real job. And the other job is the fake one.
Being commandant.
But I didn't mean that. Like, the whole point of him being at the school, like, he's like some teacher or something like that, right? He's a professor. That's his day job, and he gets paid for that. But his real job, which I don't know if he gets paid under the table or something like that, is to watch Violet and Xaden.
I think he is a genuine curiosity. Because if you could control those two, they're arguably the two most powerful riders to have come around in a very long time. If you can find a way to manipulate and control them, I think it's the same thing the Venom want, really. Everybody's got the same mission. They're like, listen, we control them, we're going to be good. She's going to go get interrogated. She's getting in a room. Her squad has how many people left?
I don't know. There's Ridoc, Sawyer, Rhiannon, and Violet. And I thought there was more people than just the 4 of them.
No, 4 left now. They're the Iron Squad.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, Adri?
They're hard as iron.
It means they had the most first years survive, right?
Oh.
The Iron Squad. They've really whittled it down. Here's my thing with that. See, where the Iron Squad, you had everybody survive, blah, blah, blah. Now you have 1 fewer than the average squad does. You're not getting that patch again next year.
Oh. Well, there really isn't even a next year.
True.
Chapter 23 starts with them entering like the secret training area. I got really confused with her saying the key can be found in my dresser drawer. It's like a secret code password, and I re-listened to it. I don't think it's necessarily to get to the secret training area. I think that is one of many things they need to keep a secret. They have that one, and then they each come up with individual ones, and then they're interrogated to either get the main one that was given to them or to get a secret about an individual.
Yeah, I think it was just a passphrase that they were supposed to say when they'd been interrogated enough, basically. Right?
Oh, yeah, I guess that would kind of be it.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that was kind of how I took it. What's the instructor's name?
Grady.
Yeah. He seems like an alright dude.
He does. He seems like he sees this as fun, not in like a bad way, like truly like this is a rite of passage for you guys and I'm really happy. Like everyone else has gone through it. Just, you got to do it. This is what we do.
And he did keep giving him hints like, hey, be strong. It's going to suck, but we've all made it.
Think about the reading. And I don't think Ridoc read any of it.
That is exactly what it said. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that Grady's the one that they're discussing. And he says, don't worry, guys. The scenario hasn't begun yet.
You guys are going to do fine. But then it really did begin with the water and biscuits.
Yeah, and also anytime you're being given something to make your mouth dry and being given something to quench that thirst, if you're in a remotely adversarial environment, maybe don't trust it.
I think you're giving them way too much maturity. I would have fell for this.
War college. Yes, you would fall for it, but you haven't spent your life being raised by a general and the last 2 years of your life being in a college that's constantly trying to fuck you up.
As a child, I really loved Law and Order and seeing how they would get all these clues and things. And every time we're like, oh, I didn't think of that. Gotta remember this one. This is one of those times I don't think I would have thought of it.
Oh, man. As soon as I heard biscuits, I'm like, she's not British. These are real biscuits. And it's like, hell, and water. I'm like, don't trust anything they're trying to give you to drink. We learned that in the last one. I just remember the first time going through this where I'm like, come on, guys. It's like, oh, they brought an abundance of biscuits. They didn't bring you any other food, just the driest food possible and lots of it and beverage.
First time reading through, I forgot about the water. I'm like, oh, I could actually do with some water. No, clueless. This time around, I really tried paying attention. I thought they did drink the water. They did not drink the water in this one.
They definitely didn't. That was a major point. And they're like, we poured it in the toilet.
Yeah.
Makes this in this prison cell room.
When it was first brought in, I thought there was some type of thing that they did eat and drink as they were talking and discussing their ideas. I don't think it's very strong smelling, but just enough that she paid attention to check it.
Yeah, I think she's very perceptive to smell because I can't think of things that I can, like, oh, I go to drink this and no, it smells like what I thought. I am surprised sometimes by water and Sprite. I wouldn't get it by smell, but I had an alternative idea. They talk about how dry their mouths are, right? And they may have to go 3 days without water, which you can survive 3 days without water, but you do have like issues that come from that, right? It's not necessarily a harmless thing to go 3 days without water. They have a toilet and they worded it as a toilet, which makes me believe this place has running water.
Ew,
right?
They could use their cups to fish out toilet water.
Well, not from the bowl, but there's got to be a supply line that delivers water to the toilet.
See, this is why you're going to survive and not me.
I'm just saying.
I would be looking at that toilet, not realizing I could probably unhook the hose in the back to get some water.
Right.
Instead, I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. Ridoc, finish up on the toilet. It's my turn. I'm thirsty.
Oh, I love that you chose to have somebody use the toilet before you got your water. You had an option and you were like, I better let him pee first.
Well, I'm sure at some point somebody's going to pee before you take a drink in 3 days.
Well, here's the other thing. Worst case scenario. If I know I'm going to go 3 days, I'd have to try to drink my own piss.
Ew, no, I've never understood those stories where they're just like, he was in a desert and he drank his own piss. I'm like, bleh.
I drink like 1.5 gallons of water a day, probably. I drink a lot of fluids. For instance, we've only been in here for over an hour. I've finished that. I've left half of my water that's left over there. And I've had 2 other bottles of water this morning.
Why does that mean you would drink your own piss?
I can't go 3 days, first of all. I am thirsty right now. And just talking about the biscuits, I can feel how dry my mouth is.
And do you remember the Nathan Fielder thing where he interviews this old man? He's like, drink the grandson's pee.
You drink your grandson's piss. You know, when you need good luck, you drink your grandchild's pee.
And it could be any child. It doesn't matter which.
You have to drink your grandchild's pee? And he's like, yes. He's like, any small child's pee. And he's like, who told you? This is what they say. Who are they? Like, this was my favorite Nathan Fielder bit because you could see he was like, what? Is this guy fucking with me? It was a great moment. But same. All I'm saying is, if I'm in that situation, there is no supply line and no running water, I am pouring it out into the not.
Ooh, we're missing a crucial detail. We don't have access to the toilet through all of this. They're only in this room with the toilet at the beginning. Then they move into
before I leave, I'm
chugging toilet water. Oh, chugging your piss?
No, hold on. Not the way you're handling this. You're going to need to slow down. I'm filling up. I'm drinking as much of that water as I can before I go in there. And if I have to pee in a cup just before I leave and drink that, and I'm giving that a shot if my mouth is already dry. Like 3 days, my mouth is very dry.
And you're just going to be like, I gotta pee. Can I have that cup over there?
Dude, I just poured that shit into the toilet, and I'm like, listen.
The toilet technically isn't in there because there's 2 rooms.
But the toilet is in the room that they are having their beverages in.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
But I'm picturing day 2 or 3.
You're fucked then.
Yeah.
You are also tied to chairs and things, I believe.
There's another little point that on the discussion of this water, so I'm just going to do a quick recap to get it there. Rhiannon is bitter about what's going on with Violet. She then also shares her little story of them running away. Sawyer lied to his parents about being a first year again.
He omitted.
Yeah, and they didn't question anything. I think Sawyer's got some parental trauma going on. The fact that they didn't care for 2 years.
They just thought that was the rule. They're very proud of him, and he didn't want to embarrass them. I think he actually is the opposite of parental trauma. I think he's...
All right, we'll get...
He seems to be the one that actually cares what his parents think.
Ridoc is scared of snakes. I thought that was adorable. Little detail, little fun fact about Ridoc.
I think Ridoc even sold it well. Because at first I'm like, yeah, this sucks. Well, that's not a real secret. And he's like, yeah, it is. And it really does affect me. He's like, therefore, it's valuable for you to know.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I'm like, actually, that is valuable, I guess.
Yeah, knowing your deepest, darkest fear. And then Violet's is, I'm in love with Xaden.
And everybody's like, yep, but now for the secret.
Anyways, thanks for the confession, but we already knew. No one drinks the water. Violet roasts the interrogators' looks. She's like, they're so plain and forgettable. I guess this is really necessary.
Maybe they're supposed to be kind of unremarkable. I really enjoyed that because it's one of the very few times we get somebody described to us where they are unremarkable.
Unremarkable, not pretty, not gorgeous, nothing.
They're not ugly. They're not pretty. They are just unremarkable.
Yeah, not a single jaw flex, so they're here for this scene and this scene only.
I found my niche in Bezgaya. I would be an unremarkable individual.
That is not true.
In the field that she's seeing people in, yes, it is very true.
No, you would be a Ridoc. You're the comedy.
Funny, but Ridoc's yoked. I would be a regular. I would be an unremarkable looking person.
This is like being in prison. And you and me had talked about this, that if you were in prison, you would just work out. Like, you understand why they're...
Become yoked.
Exactly. Yeah. You're in Bezgaiath. You're not going to become yoked? And I'm not there. I'm dead.
Why are you dead?
Because I died on the parapet.
No, you didn't. I saved you. I carried you across that parapet.
That's so romantic. But at this point, we haven't met each other and we never will, so you continue.
I saw you across the way.
Oh.
And I carried you. And you piggybacked all the way across the parapet.
But this is why you get yoked in Bezgaiath. You never find love. You saw me across the way and I fell and you're like, I'll never be in love again. I'm just going to be...
I'm just some buff plain dude, though.
You're not plain.
Well, hold on. In the book as it exists, this is not a bad thing. I think you're taking this as me being mean to me. I'm not being mean to me. I'm okay with that. A plain person in this book is a very good-looking person in real life. Right? Just when you're described as either really ugly or really good-looking, to be unremarkable is pretty sweet.
And she does say it's a skill to be unremarkable.
Which is not how skills work. It is a trait.
You know what I meant.
What's your skill? I am boring.
But overall, she's just roasting them. She's like, they're incredible. Lee Plain.
That lady, though, something about her seemed a little attractive, right?
What lady?
The lady interrogating her. Maybe it's because she is so mean.
Oh, yeah, the slapping. You would be into that.
Dude. I was just like, she like had a little bit of a smirk and then she's like, oh, I'm going to fucking hurt you now. And then she, bam, beats her. And then she goes over to Ridoc and she's like, watch this motherfucker. Wow, and beats him. And I'm just like.
The fact that neither one of them made a joke about it, being into it.
It was a loss. I thought the same thing.
Took me out of the fantasy. I'm like, you know who'd be into this? Ridoc.
Yes. If he wasn't into it, Ridic's exact response would be like, oh, thank you, mommy. It would have been hilarious. That's exactly what should have happened. Thank you, ma'am. May I please have another?
I think instead what happened was Violet was the first to be hit, and he, Sawyer, Rhiannon are upset that they're hurting Violet. So he didn't have time to be funny because he was upset.
You could still make it funny, even when Violet's being hit. Like, if I was Ridoc in that situation, I'm like, I do like to watch. And just make them feel a little weird about it, and then just make eye contact with the plain-looking dude. Who's just in there, just make eye contact with him, and every time she gets hit, go, ugh. Just a little noise.
Now back to the water, where I was going with this. They bring in water, trying to convince them to drink some water. Wouldn't it be wild if Rhiannon did gain the skill to move things between walls? Could she take that water and put it in their stomachs immediately against their will? And then they lose their bond and they're saying, yeah, no, it did get a little psycho there.
She probably could. The question is what causes their bond to fade, right?
I thought digesting it.
I'm with you, other than how quickly it seemed to work last time. It's almost more of an absorption deal.
Like throw it in their face?
Well, I'm suggesting like if it was in their mouth or somewhere where there are a lot of blood vessels. And I guess it would work eventually in the stomach as well. But I was just surprised because last time they drank it and immediately started feeling effects, which medicines often take a long time to metabolize.
I hope that wasn't a plot hole.
I don't
and
think
that you just...
It's not a plot hole.
No, it's not.
I'm not saying there are things that do work very quickly. But wouldn't it be easier, instead of making this something to drink, if they could have made this an airborne thing, right? So instead, almost like a gas chamber, they just, the air tastes a little different. They're not just going to stop breathing for 8 minutes. They now are actually going to get these effects. No matter
Are you reading notes from Varrish's journal? Because what the hell is that? A gas chamber of this elixir on students?
Well, I'm saying if you want them to be affected by it, you could just, if you could make it airborne, you just give it to them like an inhaler even, just a little.
That's insane. And I thought I was insane of just like, Rhiannon could use that water to put it in their stomach.
Yours is worse. You are force feeding people this stuff, and I'm just allowing them to breathe.
So they obviously don't break. Varrish shows up. He misses interrogating, and he's like, all right, it's my time to shine. And he brings in Dain. End scene.
Dain is... end scene. You're right. Now we go into the next thing.
We go into chapter 24. Dain's a little bitch. He walks in.
Dain doesn't know why he's there.
That's what makes him a little bitch. You should know, Dain. Don't be dumb. We can put 2 and 2 together. You know why Violet's upset. You know why she picks Xaden. And you know why you're there.
I'm saying initially, he wouldn't know that he was there to interrogate Violet. He does not know that he is there to help interrogate. He knows the commandant is like, hey, meet me here. He's also the guy that's been training Dain. Now, we also know that Dain's been training this on civilians, and he's been hurting them because they're running out of people to mend. Right? Which
oh my God, I can't. I
think is a shitbird move.
Focused on being upset at Dain's existence. I forgot that we learned that he's hurting people by trying to pull these memories.
Correct. Yeah. So we can be pissed at him for that. At the same time, we have a chain of command thing here, right? Dain is being told by Varrish what to do. And I'm not suggesting the whole just following orders thing is in any way an excuse. The world has taught us that is not valid, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say is, for that, Dain is a shitbird. Dain walking into being like, why am I here? Not a shitbird. Dain saying, Violet shouldn't be here. According to Codex, they should be healthy coming in here, and she is clearly not healthy. That's a great thing to bring up. It's the same thing Xaden brought up, more or less, right?
Yeah, but Xaden did it handsomely.
I think Dain probably did it less handsomely. He's not unremarkable. Anyway, so Dain brings that up, and I'm like, okay, there's some good points, Dain. And then Varrish is like, don't you want to know, blah, blah, blah. And even Violet's like, he's making such a compelling argument for Dain to do this.
It actually was good. Varrish is very good at his job. Actually, a little too good because he got fired. For caring too much.
Varrish, I stand by, it will come out that he was an intrinsic or something instead. Because he's going to come back as Venom. I would put money on it.
It must be the tiniest red ring in their eyes when they're Venom, because the only 2 times that she saw it was when she is near death and in somebody's face and she sees it. So I think it's a very small line that not many people can see in just talking distance.
Potentially. And I assume this room where they're being interrogated is probably not uber well lit.
Yeah.
Right?
But I still disagree that he has intrinsic powers. I don't think he's special enough to have something like that.
I think the thing is, though, he keeps saying it's amazing the things you can learn from just observing. He brings that up twice in this book, that he is observing and seeing all these things. But some of the things that he's claiming to have noticed through observation are not things that you would attribute specifically to what you can see.
What if it's almost like Dain's power, hence why he's training Dain, that with touch, Dain can pull memories, and Varrish on sight and their shields are down. It's almost like this little flash of all of their worst fears or things that make them vulnerable, and he just chooses from them.
I see both of those as less than a full degree of separation from being intrinsic. How is that different than Xaden's ability to read somebody's intentions?
Yeah, I guess it's not that different, other than he probably had a good control over it, and it's very specific on fears, and they found the value in keeping him alive greater than him being a risk.
I don't disagree. I think what I'm getting at is I don't think they are completely honest about what Varrish's segment is.
But you said that he dies. So if he dies, I don't think we'll know unless
I think he comes back as Venom.
Oh my God.
I'm justifying this in whatever ways I can find.
As we kind of pointed out, Dain doesn't follow those instructions. He doesn't end up touching her. He disagrees. I don't really know how it kind of ends with that. Oh, it's Varrish trying to test out a theory to see if Xaden shows up. And Dain, not as much of a little bitch anymore right now because he didn't do that. Then Nolon goes in and he's mending them. They get a little bit of a reprieve. But I still saw it as Nolon following orders by not helping them escape. But you pointed out in some ways he did help them escape because in order for them to leave, he needed to get Varrish out of there. But he still closed the door that he knew that there was no way for them to get through.
No, there are ways for them to get through.
The only way they got through was with the dagger.
Well, that door, yeah, but he provided them an opportunity to get out of the main door that they were in that room. It's a secondary door.
Yeah, and I guess even if they couldn't, if they hung out in that other area till Varrish got there, like knock him out or something.
Potentially
and then keep going.
overwhelmed him.
Yeah, it's 4 against 1, and they were healed too.
Yeah, I think in general, he did what he could do in that situation. I'm not a big Nolon fan.
But doesn't he later continue to heal Violet again and again and again and doesn't help her escape?
We're going to discuss that when we get to those chapters.
Yeah,
the answer is yes, but we will get further into that.
As far as Nolon right now, he's fine.
Well,
is that what we're landing on?
If you're going to give Nolon the pass, you have to give it to Dain. If it's this pass of I'm just following orders, then they both get that pass. I think if you have a higher expectation of people, then whatever they're being told to do, they're both shit. Because again, they both do some redeeming things. That doesn't completely redeem their actions.
True. Chapter 24 ends with Varrish and Nolon talking about Barlow. They head to go see him, and the crew escapes, and we learn about the Tirish runes a little bit, and just a small amount, because we learn about this later when they leave Bezgayath. Then chapter 25, there's an excerpt about the Zolia Cliffbane Academy. And
Cliffbane Academy is in Zolia.
Yes.
Which is the largest city, or one of the 3 largest cities in starts with the B province of Hormeal.
Yes. And I think this little excerpt was about that if they were to attack that area, they would go after that academy first.
It's in Varrish's diary thing.
It was Varrish's?
I think it was Varrish's.
I don't know who it was.
Oh, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the other guy.
Markham?
Yes, it could have been Markham, but I thought it was Varrish's.
Well, so in chapter 25, they get their patch. We learn about cadets that lost their lives during the interrogation. And Violet asks Bodhi, why was Sigale angry last night? And 2 nights ago, we learned Zolia was defeated and there was a notice, and that was from 2 days ago. What is going on that Sigale is upset about?
So Zolia's not in there in Navarre.
Mm-mm.
I don't know why we're getting updates on what's happened in Zolia. Does that make sense?
Because it's Wyvern and it was like a secret thing. There was a scribe that walked by when those other cadets were asking, how did you guys escape? There was a scribe like rushing by. It was because she had just dropped all those papers, and it was illegally printed news that was handed out to the class.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm saying we don't know who's propagating that.
No, we don't.
So the way Markham addresses that as propaganda, right? Where he's like, when have we ever sent out blue dragons? Where it's all blue dragons. I know I'm jumping ahead a little.
No, that's fine. I was going to say, yeah, because Markham calls it propaganda. But before he does this, he grabs all of the papers from them so they can't look down and read and question what he had said.
What it's hers.
Does she?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And he changes the story from blue fire dragons to blue dragons.
He changes things like, when have we ever sent out just a group of blue dragons? It's never happened, so on and so forth. If you're him, instead, the bigger question would be, how often are you sending out groups of dragons to just attack Poromil as opposed to defend Navarre?
Yeah.
Because we haven't heard about any missions that are Navarre going out to take over parts of Poromil. They don't want anything within those borders. Everything we hear is that the Dragon Riders are a defensive force for Navarre, not an offensive force.
Yeah, and that's why that was his way of deflecting this as being ridiculous and not true. But if it is true, it's somebody trying to raise alarm on there being issues outside of Navarre and that people are dying and that they think that it's dragons, even though it's not dragons, it's wyvern. But I thought your question before was, how do we know that's not propaganda?
Well, my point is, if you were trying to convince people that this is propaganda, instead of focusing on the color of dragons, which could easily be disputed as it was just misreported, why not instead focus on, we wouldn't even have an offensive force there in Poromil?
Oh, yeah. You're saying this could have been, Markham could have done better?
Yes.
Dispelling the propaganda?
Yes. If you're going to make an argument for why something wouldn't make sense within their understanding as students, point out the fact that you guys are not going into Poromil and attacking Poromil. Period. It wouldn't matter what color the dragons were. And then the cherry on top of that is, plus, when would we send out a force of all blue dragons? That would be...
Yeah.
It's clearly all nonsense.
Yeah.
But instead, he's like, blue dragons, you guys should have spotted that right away and known that this was bullshit. And I'm like, what? Like, this is the best you can do, and you're the anti-propaganda guy. Come on.
Anti-propaganda? He's the ultimate propaganda.
My point is, his job is to be anti-propaganda within what he's teaching the kids.
Yeah.
And if that's supposed to be his job, he did a poor job of it.
Well, he was doing it on the spot. I'm going to give him some bonus points on that. He was put on the spot to come up with this.
This isn't rocket surgery. Come on, man. I don't know. I'm not some sort of super genius, and I think that I could have done better. I'm really just jealous. I'm like, I would have made a better villain.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're really like leaning into, well, Varrish could do this, and Markham could do this, and now, end of chapter 25, is Barlow showing up.
So, yeah, and before we touch on Barlow, though, I want to bring up one thing. I am as hard on the villains in this as I am the heroes. And I think it's because in order to make a compelling hero, you need compelling villains. And the villains suck. Sometimes.
What? I don't think so.
The Sage is an amazing villain. I think the Sage is it. But if we're talking about, like, Markham's not a great villain.
I don't think he's a villain.
Well, he kind of is. He knows what the truth is, and he's out here just sowing seeds of discontent.
But he's not hurting anyone, and he's doing it with the motivation. And this
he's the head of the scribes. He's the one having these people killed when Jasenia gives him the notes that says they were asking for this. He is hurting people.
Doesn't he have the same motive as Violet's mom, where she is also keeping all of this a secret?
I believe she's keeping the venom a secret. I don't think she's having people taken out and killed for asking questions.
She is ahead of this, and they're killing civilians at the outposts.
But if she was aware of everything going on, do you think Violet would have been taken to burnout and then immediately brought in to be tortured and interrogated? I don't know, man. Yeah. I think there's things that she's too high up in the chain of command. The CEO of McDonald's does not know what the assistant store manager near me is doing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't see Markham as villain category.
All right. Yeah, I'll give it to you this time. But then the way that he sells Barlow when he comes in, he's doing the unboxing announcer like, downtown from, from under the rocks to in your heart. You've brought him back. Who's got blue eyes and an orange dragon? Jack Barlow. And everybody's like, ah.
And they pretend like nothing just happened. It's like so nonchalant. Like they have a what the fuck moment and then they move on.
what blows.
He like sits down in class and he joins the class.
Yeah. And my argument would have been he technically didn't pass his first year. So he should go back to being a first year. Get him out of here.
When he got a dragon, isn't that kind of the whole thing of becoming a...
That happens at a halfway point of the first year.
Oh, you're right.
So as far as I'm concerned, not only did he not survive war games, he didn't make it even 2 war games.
Yeah, so Barlow's a first year.
He didn't qualify. He needs to get out of that classroom. If I'm Violet, I'm like, excuse me, young man. This is where the grown-ups learn. Send him off.
But yeah, he just like joins class and that's it.
Yeah.
And Devera begins teaching or Markham, I don't know who it was. They just start teaching again.
They do. Devera hides her paper. That was an important note in this.
I missed that.
She folds it quickly and purposefully, puts it in her pocket before it can be collected from her.
That makes sense because we were questioning if she was attacked during their little summer break or whatever that is. Their little...
Yeah, we can call it summer break.
It was a week long.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's more than what I get at my job. These are adults.
We wondered if she was hurt by a wyvern.
Yeah, we got some questions. Ultimately, Devera, sexy and important and a mate. They love her. I don't like Markham. I think Markham is part of the reason why Violet's dad was killed.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Oh, yeah. See, he took over as head of scribes. And
wait, what? Markham took over Violet's dad's job?
I don't know that. I'm making all of this up. This is all...
What did her dad do? Was he?
Well, he was an important enough scribe, but he was off researching the Feathertails, which humans often not allowed to be in the Vale. It seems like that would be an honor only presented to the highest of scribes.
Well, I don't know if he was in the Vale. I just assumed he was because...
Let's say he was observing them from a little distance away. Still, dragons don't like being ogled, right? You're literally not supposed to look them in the eye on presentation.
It'd be nice to have Liam right about then to be able to see into the Vale.
All I'm saying is her mom's the biggest, most important general. I highly doubt that she was just with some random scribe.
That's a good point. Chapter 26, Menders are not healers. They follow different rules like a codex, and the healers have their own version of a codex. Yeah, they start class like this is normal, that Barlow is there. They discuss the outpost attacks.
I want to point out I was wrong. What I said a few episodes ago, that Menders are healers. And I was immediately proven wrong in this chapter. Did not remember this.
Well, he's not really a part of the healer squadron, but he's hanging out there.
Right.
You were right that Nolon is over there and he's been working on Barlow. And when you want to go see Nolon, you go to the healer squadron. And then you write down, you get in line, or whatever it is.
Yeah, he works there.
Yeah, so
but
he's...
he's a writer.
And he follows the codex. He doesn't follow whatever the Menders follow.
Right.
No, he doesn't follow whatever the healers do.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. We'll get there.
Yep. We're there.
So Devera implies that Xaden was injured. I'm assuming that Taryn then is assuming that Sigil is in danger and takes over all of Violet's emotions and kind of takes over that whole situation and being like, we're leaving now. And the first time going through this gave me so much anxiety. Again, this is where I'm kind of a bit of a Dain of, no, Violet, you can't just leave without permission. You can't just get on your dragon and just go 8 hours and fly away. But she did. And when we first listened, my heart was racing of like, oh no, when she gets back, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems, Violet. You better stop. And she didn't stop.
She didn't. And also she didn't say, hey guys, I'm leaving. She ignored everything. Everybody's like, where are you going? You must sit back down. She didn't just be like, I need to go. I feel compelled to leave. Goodbye. Something to, I don't know, acknowledge that you do hear them objecting. Be great.
Well, yeah, Bodhi has to like full on stop moving, take my jacket. At the very least, you're leaving with nothing.
Right. And then the jacket thing comes up later.
Yeah, and then Xaden's like super jealous of the jacket. He's like, who the hell's jacket is this? And she's like, you're being crazy. But she's like, but I kind of like that you're into it.
Yeah, and I thought it was great because it's probably one of the more humanizing Xaden moments we get.
Of him being jealous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I'm on board with that.
You would be jealous if I had somebody's... It'd be weird
if I... It would take me a moment.
I can't think of a scenario where I'd have somebody's jacket. That'd be weird.
Quick interjection. My mic quit picking up audio in like the last several minutes.
So this last few minutes is what we could recover from our video. Sorry in advance. Or even just imagining her asking for somebody's jacket, it would just fill him with rage.
Yeah, and like I said, I totally get it. But it was a nice moment where Xaden is very human in a sense, because I'm not an overly possessive dude.
No.
But I could still be made to feel insecure by things. And I think it's cool that Xaden has a moment where he feels insecure. And it's not like, oh, he's an insecure dude. He feels that way in that moment. It's not a personality defining thing for him.
Well, and at this point, he's still waiting for her to say that she loves him.
Yeah, he knows she does. He can read her intentions, and her intentions are, she loves me.
Yeah, but he doesn't see her for a week at a time. That's really stressful.
And their relationship will be hard, to be fair. If they didn't have a mental bond where they could talk most of the time, but then they get too far away, I would be finding out how far away my dragon could be from me and still hear me, and then my dragon to your dragon, and then your dragon to you. We'd be playing telephone, and I'd figure out what the spacing would need to be. Like, Taryn, I need you to fly 2 hours that way.
It's like cell service?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, you go 3 hours that way, Sigale, you go that far, but Xaden, they still got this. We're just paying off each other. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we would be as psycho as them.
In certain aspects, it would.
And our clinginess to each other.
Yeah.
Chapter 27, she shows up to Samara, and we learn that Samara to Vizcayeth is an 8-hour flight. So we finally got a number. I'm pretty sure you were guessing about 8 hours max of how long is an all-day or all-night flight. And I feel really slow not picking up on this. All of the outposts are 8 hours from the Wardstone.
Yeah, it's a radius.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it either.
Yeah, because it just finally clicked. I'm like, oh, it takes 8 hours there, and it takes an overnight here, and it takes an all day. I'm like, oh my God, they're all 8 hours. That makes sense. We've already learned it's a dome shape, an umbrella.
And they're flying.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the terrain on the ground is like to affect their speed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, as a dragon flies, we are 8 hours from everywhere we need to be.
Yeah, well, and it's probably 8.5, 9 hours
But
because
was flying super
he was going really quickly.
Yeah. Breakneck speed, as it was.
And she realizes she was being controlled by Taryn, and Mira finds her and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, the last time I saw you, you were telling me Wyvern were real. Now you're here? What is going on with you? My sister is mentally broken at this point.
I love that Mira couldn't put this together, and Xaden almost lost an army. Like, why are you here? We couldn't have assumed what had happened. Come on, Mira.
No, I can't let you have that one. Only Dain is the dummy in this story.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
She just cares about her sister. She's not putting 2 and 2 together. She probably doesn't even think about Xaden at all. Like, his existence is nothing to her.
All I'm saying is there are times where Mira doesn't need a colonoscopy because her head's already up her.
But Violet, I picture her almost walking.
I don't know why I'm trying to make a colonoscopy joke. I thought of colonoscopy first. Then, like, I'm going to make this fun. I didn't. You can't make them fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Oh, I've never been involved in it.
That's not what it meant.
You're just like, I love colonoscopies.
I meant I'm having a good time here.
Oh, okay.
I was picturing Violet, though, that she's almost like a zombie being forced to walk to Xaden, like she's not in control of this. But it's also kind of confusing because Taryn wants Sigale. He then has her, and now Violet is almost like feeding into her own desires that are just amplified, which is for Xaden. Xaden is like, oh no, and he gives her a cold shower, and then we have the shower scene.
I'll let you talk about that one. I've got nothing for it.
I don't have a whole lot other than we had to turn it down while it was playing.
Yeah.
And Violet at one point says, it's no longer up to you to punish me. I'm no longer in your chain of command. And I was just giggling so much at this because it was just so cheesy of how they're setting themselves up. Like, they're flirting with each other. They make it seem like they're not. Like, we're just having this regular conversation.
Platonic shower talk.
Platonic shower. You can't punish me. It's like, oh yeah, I can. He's like, it's easier this way.
He slaps her across the face with his huge horse gun. It's like, yeah.
Well, he doesn't say it was easier. I'm pretty sure he said it was easier when you were my chain of command. But yeah, they're just having this banter and flirt and setting themselves up, denying with.
But just hanging out naked.
No, they're not naked. They're soaking wet in leathers.
Oh, shit. I thought they were naked.
During their little conversation, they're kind of having this little arguing, like they want each other, but I can't have you. And he's like, please want me.
You can have me.
Yeah, he's like, well, oh, actually, he then corrects her. She's like, well, I guess I could separate emotions from sex. He's like, no, please don't. Don't do that. No, I want what you offered back on the parapet that one night.
Yeah. The indecisiveness is really what's crushing Mr. Riorson.
So,
Everything he wants was offered to him, and he didn't know what he had until he lost it.
oh, that's exactly what this is. And now he wants it back.
Yeah, he would.
Well, yeah, eventually someone gives in. I don't know who. They rip off the wet, soaking leathers. But as they're banging, Mira now knows Violet's here. We have a beautiful, clear day. I'm making that part up. I'm assuming it's a beautiful, clear day. And all of a sudden, lightning is striking everywhere.
It's nighttime. Now, to be fair,
Okay.
it took her 8 hours to get there, and she left in the middle of the day of school.
Oh, okay.
So it's nighttime.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I'm assuming that it isn't bad weather, and Mira's putting two and two together that that's Violet over there doing it.
Yeah, honestly, what a dangerous place to fuck if you're as sick as lightning.
Yes.
In the shower.
Oh.
What are you guys doing? She gets a little extra spark in Xaden's dignity again. What happened? She tased my penis.
Well, that's where I told you. Like, Violet can't sleep with anyone but Xaden.
No, it turns out she could, though. She's having sex with him in a shower. She's not going to electrocute who she's having sex with. Violet shouldn't have sex around other people. They couldn't have a cuck chair and get away with it.
Ew.
Well, I'm just saying it would be dangerous. You know, anybody looking to observe may have issues.
Well, that's all that I really had on it. Was I just found it entertaining how they're having this little banter, and then they fall and they give in eventually, and then Mira's just like, what the hell is going on? And then you just have civilians and infantry just scattering and scared as lightning striking everywhere.
Do you know in Zelda, when the storm comes up and if you have metal weapons on you, it starts to like shock a little bit and it kind of warns you? It's really funny to think about all of these people wearing swords and all these kind of things, and all of a sudden the static's starting to get to them. Like, God damn it, they're fighting again. Everybody drop your weapons.
That is so good. I'm just like, oh, Violet's back this weekend. Everyone switch.
You got one dude who's like, I need to know what's going on. He's just got a rubber gimp suit. He's traipsing around that place. I'm going to find this lady. He's coming. He shows up. He's already in costume. They look over and they're just like, damn it. Come on, Ridoc, get out of here.
Oh.
They know who it is in the gimp suit already. They don't even need to ask. Like, who would think of, yes. That was a good time.
It was a good time.
I love you.
I love you. You are my bestie.
You are my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.